While America grapples with inflation, a crumbling border, and weather disasters, President Biden is taking yet another vacation.
So let's go off the wall and take a look at just how many times Joe Biden has been escaping the Oval Office to put some sand in his toes. We'll get to the overall numbers in a moment. We'll let you know what the percentage is. But of his 957 days in office, he's spent 382 of them on vacation.
And it's marked some very important moments in American history since he's been in office. We can go back to the summer of 2021. During the fall of Kabul, Biden was at Camp David for a 6-day vacation.
I feel like if a 20-year mission is descending into chaos and American lives are on the line, being close to the Situation Room, being in the Oval Office, being in the White House is where you'd want to be, near your Pentagon and your Pentagon leaders. You could say you could work at Camp David, that's fine, but it's not the same as the White House, and it was defined as a vacation.
Some of this may be the consequence of America electing a very old and very beleaguered president. He's going to need some time, especially at the end of the day, and apparently for many weeks. Like, we had a rough week in the U.S. economy in the summer of 2022, and it's the same week that you'll famously remember Joe Biden falling off his bike in Rehoboth Beach.
1 mile an hour across a crosswalk, and it was just too big of a feat. The Dow dropped below 30,000, and gas in that time moved to over $5 a gallon. We're heading back in that direction, by the way. No concern of Joe, just taking a ride with his bike helmet.
Let's keep going. Take a look at some of these instances as well. How about in February of 2022, during the second day of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, early days of that war, which obviously and eventually the United States government would go all in on, but not initially because Biden was at his home in Delaware. Yeah,
that was a war that he said he was going to prevent. Then when he didn't, in fact, during this time frame, Zelensky was asked to flee the country and didn't. Wonder who asked him, but Joe's on vacation. Another vacation, 4-day weekend, right at the same time remember that Chinese spy balloon that was flying over the country that they claimed we didn't know anything about, but I'm sure they did. And then we found out there were other ones that happened that people were not notified about. Joe was on vacation, January 2023.
And then last month, during the Maui wildfires, the death toll now well above 100, the most dangerous natural disaster or human error-caused disaster in like 100 years in America. Once again, he was at Rehoboth Beach. There was some more or less flattering pictures of him.
Yes.
Splayed out under an umbrella in a bathing suit on the beach.
Lot of biking, a lot of taking in of the sun. And then when he did go to Maui, when he finally went, what was it, 2 weeks later, I believe, Will? Here's what he said when asked in Delaware about what was happening in Maui. Watch.
Mr. President, any comments on the rising death toll in Maui?
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
Can you tell us about your Hawaii trip, sir?
No, not now.
No comment. No, not now. And what you started to say, Pete, is when he eventually did get around to talking about Maui, he had diminished it and talked about his kitchen fire.
Yeah, it was the kitchen fire in one of these houses. Yeah, that's he's 80. He's 80, and that's why when you go here to the floor, what do those numbers add up to? 40% of his presidency has been on vacation. Do you spend 40% of your job off?
The most important public office in America. And to your point, do you get 40% of your time off? Think we're being unfair? Think we're cherry-picking instances throughout his presidency where he's been at Rehoboth Beach or on vacation during major crises? Think it's partisan? Well, how about this? 40%. How does that add up to other presidencies? Let's put it on the wall. I see Democrats. I see Republicans. I see presidents. From George H.W. Bush, who got the closest at 36%, down to JFK, a Democrat, at 11%, Pete. You can just see the amount of time as compared to 40% various presidents spent on vacation.
Think about how much time the media has spent talking about George W. Bush golfing after 9/11 or Donald Trump spending time on the golf course. Their percentage is nowhere near. Well, George W. Bush is pretty close, but Trump's 25%. Clinton, 12. I mean, looks pretty sweet with that flip phone, though. Look at that. He was like, I'm a cool dude.
Yeah.
All the way down here to, Barack Obama and Ronald Reagan.
Did I say JFK? I meant Ronald Reagan. The black and white might have thrown me off if I said JFK. But yes, guys who were working 90% of the time, and Joe Biden, throughout all of those big moments in American history that require some leadership, on vacation.
Now, don't get me wrong. 40%. I don't mind if Joe's on vacation. Because it's like when Congress is on vacation, they're not doing bad things. Problem is, he's got a staff, and they're always meddling and doing things, and who knows if he's really in charge. So if he's on vacation, while what do they say, while the cat's away, the mice will play.
40%.
It's staggering. That's at the end of the day.
I'm just sitting here thinking, like,
we should take 40% of weekends off.
sold.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.